Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro's career is inseparable from his status as one of the greatest actors in Hollywood history, yet in recent years, he has become just as well known for his relentless and inflammatory political activism. His public persona shifted from legendary performer to outspoken critic of Donald Trump, using every opportunity to denounce the former president in the harshest terms possible. He has called Trump an idiot, a moron, a clown, evil, and even declared in 2016 that he would like to punch him in the face.
Well, I'd like to punch him in the face.
For De Niro, this was not mere politics but a moral crusade. He framed Trump as a bully and a threat to American democracy, and he cast himself as one of the few in Hollywood unafraid to say so loudly and consistently. The controversies surrounding De Niro escalated in May of 2024 when he appeared at an official Biden-Harris campaign press conference outside the Manhattan courthouse during Trump's criminal trial. The spectacle quickly descended into chaos, with Trump supporters heckling him as a washed-up actor while he shouted back insults. This marked a clear turning point because De Niro was no longer just expressing political views as a private citizen, but had stepped directly into the role of a partisan surrogate. That shift carried real professional consequences. The National Association of Broadcasters, a bipartisan organization, rescinded its Service to America award, which was set to honor him for his philanthropy. The group stated that his recent high-profile political activity would create a distraction from the award's purpose. Even with the backlash, De Niro's professional career remains largely insulated from collapse. At 80 years old, he is firmly in the legacy stage of his career, where his reputation as a two-time Academy Award winner with a body of work stretching back 5 decades provides a buffer against industry exile. Directors and studios that share his views still cast him, and his stature ensures continued demand for his work. Unlike younger actors dependent on mass appeal for career survival, De Niro no longer requires unanimous audience approval to maintain relevance. Critics have, however, pointed out hypocrisy in his stances. He has refused to play Trump in any dramatization, saying there is nothing redeemable in him. Yet he has portrayed figures such as Bernie Madoff and countless fictional criminals, killers, and gangsters without objection. The inconsistency has drawn public criticism but has not materially affected his ability to find work. His activism, though divisive, has resulted only in reputational blows rather than financial or career-ending consequences. The clearest takeaway from De Niro's case is that his controversies are political in nature rather than personal or criminal. His career flop, such as it exists, lies in the erosion of his reputation among certain audiences and the occasional rescinded honor, not in a collapse of professional opportunity.
Sorry for stopping your video, but you really should subscribe.
Chris Evans. Chris Evans' reputation is anchored in his role as Captain America, a character synonymous with moral clarity and patriotism. That image gave him a unique platform to enter political discourse, particularly with the launch of A Starting Point in 2020. The platform was designed as a civic education hub, featuring unfiltered video clips from politicians across the spectrum to increase voter engagement. Evans positioned the project as nonpartisan, offering starting points, daily points, and counterpoints that were intended to bypass media spin and provide direct communication between elected officials and citizens. From the beginning, however, the project drew criticism. Commentators argued that presenting opposing political views without context or fact-checking risked creating false equivalencies. For example, offering both sides of issues like climate change or voting rights was viewed as legitimizing harmful positions. Critics from progressive circles argued that neutrality in the face of injustice was itself a moral failure, accusing Evans of naivete and complicity. This criticism became central to his public persona. While he positioned himself as an earnest civic activist, many viewed him as a celebrity attempting to balance moral leadership with centrist appeasement. Evans also faced backlash from specific incidents outside of A Starting Point. In 2024, a resurfaced photo from a USO tour in 2016 showed him signing what appeared to be a bomb. The image went viral during the Israel-Gaza conflict, sparking accusations that he supported military violence. Evans clarified on Instagram that the item was an inert training aid, a claim confirmed by the U.S. Air Force. Yet critics maintained that the optics symbolized military propaganda. He was also criticized for producing a documentary series on Middle East politics that lacked local perspectives, with some dismissing it as U.S.-centric propaganda. Despite repeated flare-ups of controversy, none of these incidents have harmed Evans' professional trajectory. His films remain massive box office draws, with total grosses surpassing $11 billion worldwide. Even Marvel Studios attributed the underperformance of Captain America: Brave New World partly to his absence, reinforcing that he continues to be seen as a cornerstone of the franchise. He has also sustained lucrative endorsement deals with global brands like Gucci and Hyundai, invested in startups such as the premium dog food company Jinx, and strengthened his reputation through philanthropic work with veterans organizations. Evans' case demonstrates the disconnect between online outrage and actual career fallout. His reputation may be divisive in political spaces, but within Hollywood and the global marketplace, his value remains strong. Shia LaBeouf. Shia LaBeouf's downfall is rooted in a combination of erratic behavior, political performance, art, and serious abuse allegations. After earlier plagiarism scandals and public outbursts, he attempted to rebrand himself as a performance artist. His most overt political project, He Will Not Divide Us, launched on the day of Donald Trump's inauguration in 2017. A camera was placed outside a museum, live streaming citizens chanting the project's title as an act of resistance. While intended as a symbol of unity, the installation became a magnet for internet trolls and white supremacists, quickly devolving into chaos. LaBeouf himself was arrested at the site after shoving a heckler, and the museum shut the project down, labeling it a flashpoint for violence. This political activism mirrored the instability of LaBeouf's personal life. In December 2020, musician FKA Twigs filed a lawsuit against him, accusing him of sexual battery, assault, and emotional abuse. She described a relationship characterized by manipulation, violence, and knowingly transmitting a sexually transmitted disease. Other women corroborated similar patterns of mistreatment, painting a picture of consistent abuse. The allegations were compounded by LaBeouf's history of arrests for disorderly conduct, intoxication, and a racist tirade against a black police officer during a 2017 arrest. Following the lawsuit, LaBeouf was dropped by his talent agency and cut from Olivia Wilde's film Don't Worry Darling, with Wilde clarifying that his presence undermined a safe environment on set. Publicly, LaBeouf admitted to his destructive behavior, acknowledging that he had hurt FKA Twigs and had long battled alcoholism and aggression. He entered inpatient treatment, attempting to reposition himself through smaller, independent, and religiously themed projects, such as his role in Padre Pio and his public conversion to Catholicism. LaBeouf's activism and art projects were never the cause of his career implosion, but rather symptoms of his self-destructive behavior. While He Will Not Divide Us illustrated his desire to tie himself to anti-Trump resistance, it also highlighted his confrontational personality and inability to control chaos around him. His ultimate collapse stemmed from credible abuse allegations and a pattern of criminal behavior. By the time those surfaced, his political provocations and performance art had already positioned him as unstable, making the accusations even more damaging. The result was near total exclusion from mainstream Hollywood. Jussie Smollett. Jussie Smollett's career collapse stemmed from one of the most notorious scandals in recent Hollywood history. Before 2019, he was best known as a breakout star on the hit television series Empire, where he played Jamal Lyon, a character celebrated for being one of the first openly gay black male leads on primetime television. Smollett cultivated an image as both actor and activist, consistently speaking out on racial justice and LGBTQ+ issues. That activist identity was central to his brand, framing him as a symbol of progress in entertainment. On January 29, 2019, Smollett reported to Chicago police that he had been the victim of a violent hate crime. He claimed 2 men assaulted him in the early morning hours, shouting racist and homophobic slurs, pouring a chemical substance believed to be bleach on him, placing a noose around his neck, and declaring, "This is MAGA country." The story immediately went viral, drawing nationwide outrage and an outpouring of support from political leaders, celebrities, and activists. The narrative unraveled within weeks. Investigators discovered that Smollett had orchestrated the entire incident. He had paid 2 acquaintances, brothers Abimbola and Olabinjo Osundairo, $3,500 to stage the attack. Prosecutors argued his motive was dissatisfaction with his salary on Empire and a desire to generate publicity to boost his career. In 2021, after a highly publicized trial, Smollett was convicted on 5 felony counts of disorderly conduct for filing a false police report. The consequences were immediate and catastrophic. Smollett was written out of Empire and never returned for its final season. Hollywood distanced itself completely, and he has not secured a major acting role since. Unlike other controversies that polarize along political lines, this case drew condemnation across the spectrum. Prominent Democrats who had initially voiced strong support, including Kamala Harris and Cory Booker, publicly retracted their statements. Republicans also denounced him, with Donald Trump himself weighing in. The city of Chicago sued Smollett to recover more than $130,000 in overtime costs spent investigating the hoax. The damage extended beyond Smollett's career. His actions were widely seen as a betrayal of genuine victims of hate crimes, making it more difficult for future victims to be believed. This moral breach ensured there would be little path to rehabilitation. Unlike stars whose misconduct can eventually be reframed or forgiven, Smollett's downfall was tied to calculated deceit. By weaponizing racial and homophobic trauma symbols, the noose, the bleach, and the MAGA slogan, for personal gain, he destroyed the trust of both the industry and the public. His career did not just stumble, it ended abruptly, leaving him a cautionary tale of how exploiting activism for self-interest can annihilate a reputation. Mark Ruffalo. Mark Ruffalo has built his public identity as one of Hollywood's most vocal progressive activists, making his political engagement inseparable from his career. His activism spans multiple causes: environmental protection, opposition to corporate greed, anti-war advocacy, and outspoken support for Palestinian rights. He co-founded groups such as Water Defense and Artists Against Fracking, becoming known as the face of the anti-fracking movement. In 2013, he co-launched the Solutions Project, a nonprofit pushing for a full transition to renewable energy in the United States. This commitment carried into his professional work, most notably with Dark Waters, a 2019 film he starred in and co-produced that exposed chemical giant DuPont's pollution. Politically, Ruffalo has consistently supported leftist figures, endorsing Bernie Sanders in both presidential campaigns and backing international progressives like Jeremy Corbyn. He has frequently attacked capitalism, stating bluntly that capitalism today is failing us, killing us. His activism also extends to global issues. He has been among the most visible Hollywood voices, calling for a ceasefire in Gaza, appearing with an Artists for Ceasefire pin at the Academy Awards, and signing letters condemning the entertainment industry's repression of pro-Palestinian voices. His outspokenness, however, has often drawn backlash. In 2024, he compared the conservative Project 2025 policy plan to the Sharia law of the Christian crazy people, a comment blasted as Islamophobic. This was a particularly damaging misstep given his strong pro-Palestinian advocacy, which critics argued was undermined by using Islam as shorthand for extremism. Earlier, he had drawn criticism for producing the film Anything, which cast a cisgender man as a trans woman, angering transgender advocates. During the 2021 Israel-Hamas conflict, he apologized for calling Israel's actions genocide, admitting the term was inflammatory and risked fueling anti-Semitism. Despite repeated controversies, Ruffalo's acting career has remained resilient. His central role as the Hulk in the Marvel Cinematic Universe secured him a place in one of the highest-grossing franchises of all time, with his films earning more than $11 billion globally. This role provides a financial and cultural buffer, allowing him to weather political backlash without losing mainstream roles. His activism even blends with his career, with Dark Waters standing as a passion project that was critically acclaimed. Ruffalo's case illustrates how consistent activism, when viewed as authentic, becomes part of a celebrity's brand rather than a liability. His controversies have been interpreted as occasional missteps rather than career-ending scandals. Hollywood has not punished him with lost roles or isolation. Instead, his activism coexists with his continued success. The combination of authenticity, longevity in activism, and a secure franchise role has shielded him. Ruffalo's woke persona defines him, but it has not derailed him. Ezra Miller cultivated a public image as a groundbreaking figure in Hollywood, openly queer since 2012, and publicly identifying as non-binary in 2018. Their avant-garde fashion choices, gender-fluid public appearances, and role as the lead in The Flash positioned them as a trailblazer. Miller's casting in a major superhero franchise was seen as a milestone for representation, making them the first openly non-binary actor to headline a blockbuster comic book film. Behind this progressive persona, however, a pattern of disturbing and criminal behavior unraveled over several years. In April 2020, video footage surfaced from Iceland, showing Miller grabbing a woman by the throat and throwing her to the ground outside a bar. In March and April 2022, Miller was arrested multiple times in Hawaii for disorderly conduct and harassment, including yelling obscenities at patrons in a karaoke bar, lunging at a man playing darts, and throwing a chair that injured a woman. During one of these arrests, they accused police of committing a hate crime for misgendering them. Allegations escalated in June 2022 when the parents of Tokita Iron Eyes, a young activist, accused Miller of grooming their child since the age of 12. They claimed Miller supplied drugs and exerted manipulative, cult-like control. A Massachusetts family separately secured a harassment prevention order after accusing Miller of inappropriate behavior toward their 12-year-old child. In August 2022, Miller was charged with felony burglary in Vermont for stealing bottles of alcohol from a home. Reports also circulated that Miller was housing a young mother and her children on their farm, where unsecured firearms were allegedly present. These incidents placed Warner Brothers in a precarious position. With over $200 million invested in The Flash, the studio hesitated to cut ties. Miller eventually issued a public apology in August 2022, attributing their behavior to complex mental health issues and announcing they were seeking treatment. This statement reframed the narrative from criminality to personal crisis, allowing Warner Brothers to proceed with the film's release in June 2023. Despite salvaging the project, the controversies left Miller's future with the franchise uncertain, and they remain radioactive within the industry. Miller's case underscores the difference between a woke identity and destructive personal conduct. Their non-binary, queer persona complicated the public relations fallout, as some critics accused media outlets of shielding Miller from scrutiny under the guise of identity politics.
If you're thinking about subscribing, now's the time. I'm about to post a ton here. Thanks. Back to it.
Armie Hammer. Armie Hammer was once viewed as Hollywood royalty, the great-grandson of oil magnate Armand Hammer and a striking leading man who embodied old-fashioned star power. He broke through with his dual role as the Winklevoss twins in The Social Network and later achieved critical acclaim and a Golden Globe nomination for Call Me By Your Name. Combined with a seemingly idyllic marriage to television host Elizabeth Chambers and 2 children, Hammer projected the image of a classic, privileged Hollywood golden boy with a charmed life and limitless career potential. That image shattered in January 2021 when an anonymous Instagram account began releasing screenshots of graphic messages allegedly sent by Hammer. The messages described violent sexual fantasies involving BDSM, abuse, and cannibalism cannibalism, with Hammer claiming, "I am 100% a cannibal," and expressing a desire to eat a partner's ribs. These shocking leaks sparked an avalanche of accusations. Multiple women came forward accusing him of emotional abuse, manipulation, and sexual coercion. The scandal intensified in March 2021 when a woman named Effie publicly alleged that Hammer had violently raped her in 2017, prompting an LAPD investigation. By May 2023, prosecutors announced Hammer would not face criminal charges, citing insufficient evidence to prove lack of consent beyond a reasonable doubt. However, by that point, his career had already imploded. He was dropped by his talent agency and publicist, and he was forced out of numerous high-profile projects, including the film Shotgun Wedding with Jennifer Lopez and the Paramount Plus series, The Offer. Even existing roles were recast and reshot to remove him entirely, including Taika Waititi's Next Goal Wins. The fallout left Hammer financially and personally devastated. Reports surfaced of him working as a timeshare salesman in the Cayman Islands to make ends meet. His name became indelibly linked to cannibalism allegations, a reputation further cemented by the documentary House of Hammer in 2022, which detailed disturbing allegations from women and explored his family's legacy of dysfunction. Hammer himself has described the scandal as an ego death, a career death, leaving him broke and ostracized. Unlike other actors in this list, Hammer had no notable woke persona to blame for his downfall. His image was that of a traditional, privileged leading man. His implosion was caused entirely by allegations of abuse and disturbing sexual behavior, not politics or activism. In this sense, his case highlights how the so-called woke flop narrative is often misplaced. Hammer's career collapse had nothing to do with ideology, and everything to do with accusations of misconduct, amplified by the viral power of social media. Jonathan Majors. Jonathan Majors rose quickly to become one of Hollywood's most promising stars. After graduating from the Yale School of Drama, he earned critical acclaim with films like The Last Black Man in San Francisco and gained mainstream attention through HBO's Lovecraft Country. By early 2023, Majors had solidified himself as both a critical and commercial force, starring in back-to-back hits Creed 3 and Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. His role as Kang the Conqueror was intended to anchor Marvel's next cinematic saga, and he was already generating Oscar buzz for the unreleased drama magazine Dreams. That trajectory collapsed in March 2023 when Majors was arrested in New York City following a domestic dispute with his then-girlfriend, Grace Jabari. Prosecutors charged him with misdemeanor, assault, and harassment. His legal team strongly denied the allegations, claiming to possess evidence that would clear him, but damaging material surfaced during trial. Audio recordings captured Majors berating Jabari, comparing himself to Martin Luther King, Jr., and Barack Obama, while demanding she act like their wives. Text messages from a prior incident appeared to show him admitting to injuring her and discouraging medical care, calling himself a monster. Jabari's courtroom testimony described repeated abuse, reinforcing the narrative of a troubling pattern. On December 18, 2023, a jury convicted Majors of misdemeanor, third-degree assault, and second-degree harassment. The verdict triggered an immediate and complete professional collapse. The U.S. Army pulled its commercials featuring him. His management company and PR agency dropped him. Invitations to high-profile events like the Met Gala were revoked. By the time the verdict was announced, Marvel and Disney officially cut ties, firing him from the role of Kang and scrapping the long-term franchise plans built around his character. Disney also shelved magazine Dreams, erasing his anticipated awards campaign. The collapse was not gradual but instant, erasing the career he had built over years. Majors went from being positioned as Marvel's next centerpiece to being effectively blacklisted overnight. Unlike actors whose controversies stem from political views, Majors' downfall was tied directly to criminal conviction. The fatal blow to his career was legal, not ideological.
If you enjoyed this, go ahead and subscribe. I've got a lot more content coming. Thanks for watching.